I keep giving bad people good ideas.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video, we are going to be jumping into the whole, Michael Jackson thing, because the whole re-insurgence of Michael Jackson has kind of, had me go down that rabbit hole again, and, again, I just want to apologize for the lack of uploads in the past couple days. It's just I've been kind of busy with, work, life, and shit, and it's just kind of annoying because I try, record in the mornings before work or try render and upload before work. And for whatever reason, my neighbor thought, hey, let's block him into his spot the other day. So I called a tow company, and my parking lot's pretty small. So they were kind of nervous to move the fucking car. So they luckily went out and moved their car. You think at that point they realize that they can't do that, that's not a valid area to park. They're blocking a exit, they're blocking two people in. No, they do it again, and my realtor company, I have to call them to get the tow company to come out here, and they don't open until 9. I have work at 10, and it just is fucking annoying too, because there will be open spots. So I don't know if they're coming and they're arriving and all the spots are filled, and then there are open spots once people leave in the morning, but either then, it's even if the spots are all taken up, park on the street or some shit. I don't know. That's has nothing to do with the video, but that's kind of the bullshit I've been dealing with, and it's actually fucking retarded. I have questions for humanity's fucking not intelligence of right now. It blows my mind that people like this can drive. I don't know. I don't think they're a shitty driver or anything. Hopefully not. But their thought process is fucking redundant. But either way, I want to dive into the whole Michael Jackson thing because of sorry, I'm gonna take a drink real quick. Because of the whole biopic coming out, and with the biopic coming out, the whole re-insurgence of Michael Jackson and all his music has kind of started popping again. Again, with Michael Jackson, he's one of those artists that never really fell off, obviously. He was the king of pop, one of the biggest artists to really ever grace fucking earth. But again, we all know near the end of his life, especially starting in 1993, a lot of allegations and shit came out and pretty much, in a way, tarnished his career. And with his career before the whole allegations was a pretty once in a lifetime dream career, pretty perfect, and pretty much had everyone on his side. It's actually kind of crazy if you jump into the rabbit hole of shit. Again, with me, I was 8 when he died. And again, with everything I've done, all the research I've done and shit, I'm not gonna say it's 100% credible or is 100% fact, but I am gonna kind of go into my own little beliefs with a little bit of things. But with what I'm saying is I'm pretty much still 50-50 with everything going on, because there is a lot of holes in the allegations where you're okay, this seems like they're going for money or whatever. But then you look at Michael Jackson's defense, and usually it seems pretty strong, but then there are some holes and some questions here and there that you're kind of what the fuck. But yeah, pretty much I kind of want to get into all of that. And first of all, pretty much, I want to get into the biggest thing in the room as, obviously the allegations and, how he was really close to kids and shit. And I feel obviously, to a degree, it is fucking weird to have, sleepovers or slumber parties with kids. But again, what makes it weird and kind of complicated is, you could think, yeah, that's fucking weird that he's, having sleepovers with kids. But then once you look into it and you realize that a lot of the people or the, child actors or the kids that he was around, that, he had over, that, stayed the night or whatever, ended up saying, hey, there was no sexual intent, there was nothing sexual going on. Then you kind of realize, okay, well, there was nothing sexual going on, so technically, theoretically, it's in good faith, I guess, and at least in the sense of again, there was no foul foul play being done in a sense. Like, again, you could think, yes, that is weird that he is having sleepovers with kids. And again, I agree with that. That is a bit fucking weird. But again, then once you dive into it and you realize that a lot of these people that are coming out that, you know, had these sleepovers or whatever with Michael Jackson, saying that there was nothing sexual ever done, that they were always fully clothed, and yada yada, all of this, defending him, then you're kind of like, oh shit, like, it's just kind of more of a weird kind of situation where it looks weird and bad on the outside, but actually on the inside, it's not this terrible, horrible thing that we're always accustomed to. And that's kind of where it gets hard, because again, you have people saying that nothing happened, and then you have people saying that there was stuff that happened. And it gets really confusing, especially with these new allegations that came out against him in 2026. Again, I'm 50-50 with it. Like, the motherfucker's been dead for 17 years, and his last case, sorry, I'm getting another drink. His last case, he was pretty much technically proven innocent. Is kind of like, where can it go from there? Like, you know, it's already been kind of ruled that he was innocent, that they couldn't find anything. And I feel like at that point, you only can drag it so far, you know? Especially since he's dead and shit. The case is pretty much done, you know? It's kind of is where it is and settled where it's at. And with these allegations from these people that are coming out recently in 2026, these people were defending him back when he was alive, back in the early 2000s. It's actually kind of interesting if you look into it. One of them even hosted Michael Jackson dance classes that taught you how to do Michael Jackson dance moves and shit. And pretty much said that they were close friends and that he really supported them. And that he even these people went to court and under oath defended Michael Jackson. So technically, they could be, in a way, I feel like, since they lied under oath, could be technically kind of charged for lying under oath. But again, with this kind of situation and stuff, it's kind of a little different. But again, theoretically, they would have lied under oath if they were saying the allegations are, you know, 100% correct. But either way, they would defend him, do all this shit, do like Michael Jackson dance classes, say how good of a guy he was. And then this biopic comes out, and then now they're wanting to sue him. And a lot of these like things too is like, if you look into it, it's like, why with the first case that went against Michael Jackson, why was it a civil case and not a like actual like case to convict him, to actually throw him in jail and actually do something about it? And later on in the 2005 case, it was more of an in-depth trial, and actually they took him to court and did more in-depth, like, actual look into the whole situation. And even then, they didn't really find anything. And that's when he was kind of proven innocent. The only thing that really, I would say, is questionable is that with the books, he had a whole bunch of books and shit, but within all the books they found, they did find these 3 books. And I could pull it up real quick because, again, it's kind of important shit. 3 books found in MJ's house as possible evidence. Because these books, I forgot what the names were. Because, again, it gets really hard because, again, you could say that, okay, these are like, you know, child porn or whatever, but then again, all of these were they were all commercially published works, some held in public collections such as the Library of Congress. Pretty much they're featuring naturalistic images of adolescents and shit, which is, you know, a little weird. But again, these are published books. These aren't like snuff porn books or snuff porn images or videos or whatever. And with these kind of works and stuff, it's almost like having an ancient European painting. And you know how like some of those paintings, they will have kids depicted in them, and the kids are depicted nude. it's like saying almost like that artist for depicting the child nude in that painting, even though it's a different era, different time period, whatever, and that's in a depiction of art. That, oh, that artist is a pedo, and that whoever buys that painting or looks at that painting is a pedo as well. But then we could, when it comes to art, we can depict those two things apart when it's vicious and it's sexual in nature and, predatory against children, and when it's just straight up art and, a depiction of art. And I feel like when it comes down to these 3 books, the titles are sketchy as fuck. Like, the first one, The Boy, a photographic essay, or Boys Will Be Boys, or In the Search of Young Beauty. These are kind of weird, odd fucking titles, but again, like I said, these were all commercially published works. These technically all, like, supposed to be used in depictions of art, not really for predatory, nature and shit. And I feel like when it gets really hard and kind of, I would say confusing is, since Michael Jackson's not here, you can't really truly get the full intention of why he had these books, besides what they pulled from the 2005 court case. And, with these books, and one of them, it's like 10% photography, and then the rest is pretty much nudity, which kind of makes it a little alarming and, concerning, and that's from one of the prosecutors and shit. But again, that's when it comes down to, did he buy these books for, okay, this is a depiction of art, I respect it as a piece of art, or did he pretty much carry it around as a piece of spank material? And again, it gets really confusing, because that's, again, a thing that you would have to kind of ask him himself personally, and sadly, in a weird way, interrogate him in a weird way about that, to really get the full, true reason why, as, I would say, right now it's kind of he say, she said with this, where you could say, oh, he had those books because it was sexual intent, or you could say, oh, well, they were published works, and he had it for a depiction of art, and he respected it as a piece of art. So, again, at the end of the day, that's, I would say, one of the most damaging pieces against him, at least for me, when it comes to kind of thinking of his innocence. Again, there was no illegal child porn ever, discovered, or anything like that, like I was saying, besides the 3 books that were kind of on some, I would say, more just kind of sketchy shit, or just kind of like, again, like I was saying earlier, well, he'd had these sleepovers with kids, but again, there was nothing sexual that happened, according to a lot of these kids that came out, and that they were always fully clothed. So again, looks bad on the outside, but maybe on the inside, might not be as bad as it looks, And, again, when it comes to Michael Jackson, it's really confusing, too, because with the whole Neverland thing and all of this stuff, there are families that have came out against him, but then again, he did do a lot. Like, if you think about his career, the music he released is good, and not just the music, putting the music aside, how he connected people, the boundaries he broke with race, the stuff he did do. Like, I think he was like one of the first black artists on MTV, and at the time they weren't letting black artists on MTV, but Michael Jackson kind of was like, fuck that, you're gonna let me on this shit, and kind of broke that bridge and let people, kind of connect that bridge for people. And also with Michael Jackson too, is like, people would be like, he had busloads of kids coming to Netherland. And yeah, it sounds weird and bad on paper, but once you look into who were those busloads of kids, those busloads of kids were Make-A-Wish kids that made a wish to go meet him. So they wanted to go see him, and wanted to be around him, and wanted to spend a day with him. And then again, nothing ever came out that he did anything weird with any Make-A-Wish kid or anything like that. And I feel like, again, it shows his character of how he did actually care about, people and care about kids. So again, if he is actually truthful at the end of the day, that he's like, hey, I actually care about these kids, like, yeah, it could look a little weird, but at the end of the day, I'm not doing anything sexual, I'm not doing anything bad, I'm not trying to go out and a vicious manner towards these kids, I would say things like that kind of do feed into that image of him, where it's like, okay, like, yeah, those busloads of kids, but they're Make-A-Wish kids, and he's trying to do something good for them, and that they look up to him, and he's trying to make their day, or make their, time, and try and make whatever, try and make their life a little better in the moment. Then also, if you look into it too, if you look into the Ryan White situation, I think it's really interesting. But I'm gonna try to wrap up this video. I might make a part 2 about this, and stuff like that. But if you look into the whole Ryan White thing, it was pretty much this kid that sadly caught AIDS through a blood transfusion, like dirty needles. And AIDS wasn't really too resourced upon at the time, but it was at least known, or being known at the time, that AIDS was only transferred through blood, and that you could actually, communicate, touch, and, live amongst someone with AIDS. But at the time, if you had AIDS, no one wanted to fuck with you. And I feel like nowadays that's kind of the thing. But again, if you have AIDS, people are gonna, be not mind to shake your hand, or not mind to be around you nowadays, at least, or a little more comfortable, I would say, at least than before. But pretty much what happened is everyone pushed this kid away. If you even look into the story, I think I remember even the kid's father even pushed the kid away. But Michael Jackson, being Michael Jackson, was the only one that kind of reached out and tried to visit the kid in the hospital, try to, do things for the kid. And, again, you could think, oh, that was a little weird. But, again, this is a kid who wrongfully caught AIDS, and then the whole world turned his back on him instead of helping him. And I feel like things like that do kind of attribute to, or it's like, okay, if he is being truthful that nothing bad ever happened, that he would never after these kids sexually, and that he actually just cared about them and wanted the best for humanity and kids and shit, and he was doing acts like this, then it could prove his case that he is possibly innocent, that he wasn't this creepy guy, and he didn't have these bad intentions. And I feel like just the time of his death and all of that didn't really give him enough time to really prove that. And at the same time, it is kind of confusing too, because again, there are all these things that do come out, there are all these holes here and there, and there are some things that you kind of go like, Michael Jackson, why did you do that? But overall, if I had to put 100% out of 100% of how guilty or how innocent I think he is, I think he's probably a good 80 to 90% innocent. I'm leaning on. There could be maybe this part that we don't know yet, that some crazy shit that did happen. But for the most part, the guy that is bringing busloads of Make-A-Wish kids to come and visit his theme park, the guy that's reaching out to the kid with AIDS that the whole world turned his back on against, that he helped other people, not just kids, helped adults, helped people with their careers like Britney Spears and shit. You kind of realize maybe the media just paint this guy as a villain because they just needed him out. Because if you look into things like his catalog, he owned 50% of the industry. He bought it for $47 million. Yes, that's a lot of money, but it was possible. That was the only time it was possibly possible. Because, again, if you look into it, to wrap up this video really, really quickly, because it's going to be hella long, but pretty much, with this, whole thing with this catalog, at the time, it was a lot of money, but nowadays, this catalog is worth $4 to $6 billion. Sony is gonna want this catalog, and in 2016, not 2020, what the fuck am I talking about? In 2016, they bought the catalog back for $750 million. And you'd be like, oh, that's a lot of money. But when you think about it, the catalog nowadays is worth $4 to $6 billion. They bought it for nothing, pretty much, to what it's worth. Then, also on top of that, with Michael Jackson owning his own music, owning multiple other people's music, 50% of the industry's music, again, he's not going to want to just give that up. And if he does give it up, he's not going to give it up for a cheap price. So the only way to get it back, possibly, for a cheap price, and to maybe even get a chance to get it back, would, make him look bad, throw his shit down the drain in the press and the media, and then wait till he dies or whatever the fuck. And again, I'm not saying 100% that is what happened, but though all those, you know, I would say beliefs and those predictions that could have been the case. And I could totally see that happening. And yeah, it just kind of, I feel like at the end of the day, it's a bit sad if you look into it, because it is kind of a person that was ripped up of a childhood. And if they are correct and they are innocent, was technically slandered, and all they will try and do is help people and try help humanity and help kids. But again, if they're lying and they're the biggest piece of shit, then again, it is what it is. But again, with Michael Jackson, do I think he was on some Epstein shit? Probably not. I think really at the end of the day, he could have probably just been slandered and just boss media shit, and just kind of like, again, it was already happening even before the allegations. The media was already kind of on his ass for like plastic surgery or for his vitiligo and all this shit. So again, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be like this hardcore Michael Jackson fan, but just kind of more of an outsider will try and look into the situation and try and be like, is there anything grounding enough to really be like, okay, Michael Jackson is this terrible Epstein motherfucker, but then you realize he's really not. And they try to throw photos of him into the Epstein files, but they all got debunked. Like the one with him and Diana Ross and Bill Clinton or whoever, they were just on some private plane, I think, like Michael Jackson's or some shit. The two kids that were reenacted in the images were Michael Jackson's kids, and the other kid was Diana Ross's kid, I'm pretty sure. And then, another thing too is they have a picture of Michael Jackson and Jeffrey Epstein that got debunked too, because they were saying Jeffrey Epstein at the time was looking for houses, and one of Michael Jackson's houses was on the market at the time, and for whatever reason, Epstein went and checked out the house, tried to get a photo with Michael Jackson, secured the photo with Michael Jackson, and now they'll try and make him look bad with it. That's from at least the research I've done. Again, I'm not saying this is all 100% factual, but again, piecing stuff like that together, you kind of look at it like, when the media just try and slander him and make him look bad to kind of make him fall and get the catalog or get the control that he had or whatever the fuck. But at the end of the day, I think we may never know, and it might be one of the biggest what ifs. But again, I do like seeing his reinsurgency. I'm pretty hyped for part 2 of his little biopic, and again, at the end of the day, I just kind of hope, you know, again, there was never ever any weird shit that happened there, and I don't think there was. Hopefully not. But besides that, comment down below what you guys think, and yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys. So